The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show, brought to you with Levi Solicitors. There's a 10% discount on your legal fees at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Dan with you today, along with Rob Conlon and Moscow White as well, while Michael is on his holidays. He's in Brian Montenegro at the minute, isn't he? Having a nice time.
What's that film where they shrink somebody down to a tiny size and inject them into the bloodstream? 1980s.
Inner Space.
There we go. Is it like that, but with Brian Montenegro and Michael?
Correct. TSB Plus members this week can find our Tosspot Tombola over on the Extra Ball video and bonus podcast. We're going through all the managers in the Premier League one by one and assessing them according to criteria such as, are they handsome? Would you like to go for a pint with them? Will they still be in a job by the end of the season? That kind of thing. Good fun. Two-parter that is available there on the Extra Ball feed. thesquareball.net/plus for details of how to sign up for that. And into the football then. We've got actual football. We had a game at Ellen Road last weekend. We've got a game at Ellen Road this weekend. Football's back. Are you looking forward to it? I am, actually. I got quite excited going into Ellen Road.
It's good. I needed that. I felt like I was feeling very optimistic about this season and the new squad, and just this kind of new era felt necessary. And then watching a couple of games in Australia, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I'm actually that excited. Hearing Jesse Marsh say he's never finished a pre-season and felt ready for a season didn't make me brilliantly confident about the first game of the season. But then that was good. 6 goals, Ellen Road, summer's day. Yeah, new signings, all good, wasn't it?
It felt very nice to be there on Sunday. And I tweeted out saying it felt nice not to have the stress as well. Like, it just came to represent stress to me, like in the final few months of the season. Everything from about Christmas onwards, when you knew which way this one was heading. So to be in there, like you said, just in a t-shirt, it's nice, warm, relatively sunny evening, 6 goals, new look squad. It's all very exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
It was that bit walking over the bridge from Holbeck, and the streets being still relatively quiet, and it was really nice to see Ellen Road and think, oh, I'm going back there. But at the same time, it was nice that it was relaxed and not stressful and tense.
It was nice to see Calvin's banner is still there on the northeast corner. They've taken the big ones off the east stand now. One of those had Rafinha on, I think.
In the concourse before the game, it was still flashing up the stats from last season, so we were being reminded of how many tackles Calvin Phillips made in a Leeds shirt, which was nice.
They made a mistake with those big banners that I hope they won't repeat by putting 2 players on each one, so you double the chances of having to take one down. Just pick one player who isn't likely to be sold, put them on the banner, and don't look at the Square Ball calendar for December.
Have you noticed that Matthias Klick is I think is a picture for September? So
in our calendar?
Yeah.
He'll be, I mean, transfer window closes on the 1st, doesn't it?
Yeah, so another awesome piece of timing. We'll get around to all that. Well, let's talk about Ilan Meslier very quickly as well, because we heard from Robert Beattie, who got in touch via email and said his dad and him, avid listeners, based in Perth, Western Australia, where we just played the old football down under and all that. He says, much like a lot of Aussie-based supporters, we follow Leeds on their pre-season tour of Australia. They were able to meet the whole squad, and he asked Meslier to sign a shirt and add Spider Boy to it as well. He was a bit perplexed, and when I explained, he thought the Square Ball was a game or something. Anyway, after spelling Spider Boy, because we kind of christened it on here, didn't we? We were just like, oh, he's massive limbs everywhere. There seems to be loads of them. Anyway, after spelling Spider Boy out for him to sign, he spelt it Spader Boy, which is a little bit kind of a lower kind of, oh, Spider Boy, which I think is hilarious and sounds more like a French pronunciation. We bumped into him again at an event, and he remembered the Spider Boy nickname. He even popped a reference to this on his Instagram story, which is there. Look at that. Seeing that?
Yeah,
Spider's web.
He's used both emojis, the spider and the spider's web.
Anyway, just
covered all his bases. No boy.
Just wanted to share this little story, and they met loads of pod listeners on the tour, which is cool. Keep spreading the words. And he got Jackie to sign his shirt as Haradonna as well, with the correct spelling this time. And he says, warmest regards, Robert, which is nice that he got to meet them. Because we were kind of trying to work out the merits of going to Australia. And then you read that, and it tugs on your heartstrings, and you realise it was worth it all, wasn't it?
Glorified meet and greet.
I want to know if he met Joffy or Dan James and asked him to sign his shirt. wizard rat or little scum bastard.
Yeah, let's not transfer all the nicknames. Anyway,
and it's probably for the best that they just let them think the square ball is just some game.
Yeah.
They don't need any more information than that. They don't need to know who we are or what we're doing or what we're saying about their spidery limbs. Spider in French is araigné, which is quite a complicated word. Spider seems simpler.
Like arachnid.
That'll be the root.
Spider Boys did concede 2 goals at Ellen Road at the weekend. Did you have a slight emotional wobble when that 5-minute period happened?
I must admit, part of me was almost disappointed Cagliari didn't make it 3-3 within the space of 3 minutes. Just to
see what happened.
Yeah, just seeing how tetchy Ellen Road could have got. But yeah, I mean, should we ignore that?
Yeah, there was a carnival atmosphere there, wasn't there? Like, because the Women's Euros happening at the same time, like news of what was happening there kind of filtered through towards the back end of the first half, and then people dashed down to the concourse at half time to kind of watch the climax of that game. So there was a party atmosphere in the air. I think it would have gone past. We'd have all signing and bloody hell, Leeds, hey, oof. That was a close call, but I know what you mean.
It was a close call with the third chance, the one that he just he should have scored that. It should have been 3-3.
Did you make it down there, Moscow, or not?
No, I decided I would watch the Euros because felt more of an event.
Yeah,
and you could see what happened in the Cagliari game later. I've been to Elland Road, whereas I've never seen England lift a trophy, so that was pretty exciting. And I decided on that before they tried moving the game to accommodate it, which predictably didn't work.
Yeah, I'm guessing that Cagliari must have had flights back or something like that. There was a logistical reason for him not being able to move it by several hours or
What's
whatever.
What's the logistical reason for them scheduling it for that time in the first place?
That's a question I can't answer. But over 29,000 people were inside Ellen Road, which is, I think it's the biggest attendance ever for a friendly, isn't it, that? Which is good.
The atmosphere was good as well, especially in the second half. I must admit, the first half I was still kind of just wanting to know what was going on in the England game. And Rodrigo's opener was very well timed, actually, because I'd already said, do you know what, in 5 minutes I'm going to go and watch the last 10 minutes of extra time at Wembley. Rodrigo scored, sort of immediately rushed down to the concourse, literally just as Chloe Kelly's winner was crossing the line, which I would have liked to have seen properly, but it was like, no, that's good. That is a good thing. And big rendition of Three Lions on the concourse. That was nice.
Sweet Caroline. Some people might not like it very much.
But it was nice to see kids belting that out and having a good time. And then, in the second half, apart from that little wobble where Leeds really tried to test the mood, it did have that kind of party atmosphere because Rodrigo is now the best striker in the world, I think.
Funny, wasn't it? He had the occasional Rodrigo moment sprinkled in among all the goals in this game. And I thought, oh no, here we go again. But then he just seems to find his mojo, which I thought was nice for him because I really want him to succeed. You know, despite the kind of the piss we've taken out of him on this show, I really want him to succeed because he cost us a lot of money for one thing.
The fact that he's probably going to be in the starting 11 against Wolves, which at the start of the summer, certainly when we signed Sinisterra anyway, you thought, he's not really a place for him anymore. The way things have opened up, we need him to be good. And yeah, that's why it felt kind of important. It was just getting, I have no idea whether Cagliari are any good or not, but just having a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence, a bit of fun. Likewise, seeing Bamford score 2 nice goals, and especially the first one, he looked really happy about it, which again, you think, cool.
So I can still do it.
Yeah, and like just for us to see as well, and the assist from Aronson, which we'd not really seen. We'd seen lots of running from him and stuff, but to actually see him play a brilliant pass, and then he got 2 more assists later on as well. It was like, all right, okay, we see what these players can do. Let's go do it.
I really like the look of Aronson. He's quickly becoming my new favourite. Interesting fact I dug up, he's only 1 month older than Jack Clark, yet they seem to be from entirely different generations, don't they? Like, Jack Clark seems like he's been around forever, but you still class him as a young player, whereas Aronson seems like a fully fledged like international footballer, and yet they're only a month apart. It's just they've taken wildly different trajectories.
Until you look at a photo of Aronson in his day-to-day life, and he looks 12.
Yeah.
They probably, I think, I don't know how quickly Clark will be aged by Sunderland, but I would predict that they're going to go in very different directions. Although he scored at the weekend, didn't he?
It was a header, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so, yeah.
Crazy. Has he still got his Beetle Cup?
Yes, let's say he has.
That's good. But yeah, it's, he is yesterday's man, old news. It's all about moving forward with Brendan and the boys. And
3 assists, Moscow. 3 assists he got.
Cannot argue with 3 assists. And the
set
pass,
pieces, corners, the pass. Talk me through it all.
It all looked, I didn't have the giddiness because I watched it back later, so that immediately gives you more of a kind of a arms folded, where am I going to be impressed by this thing? And it was noticeable. I mean, Cagliari were garbage. That will be the miserablest side of it, is that's a really bad football team. And it was noticeable. I think Bryn, Law, and Tony DeRigo on the commentary were joking about the possession stats in the first half, but it's a good workout in a way, from that sense that I think it might be more difficult to get the ball off teams in the Premier League than it was to get the ball off Cagliari. But if you're practicing the press and what you want to do, it's sometimes good to get into the rhythm of it against a team that will just collapse like a flimsy Lego castle in front of you and give you the ball every time you breathe in their vicinity. But it was still got a score and beat the team that's on the pitch in front of you, and 6 goals is very good. And it's good that those things, because that was the one kind of criticism from Australia, is where's the cutting edge against teams that, I mean, Brisbane, did we score 3 against them?
2.
So that's not enough. 6 is more than 2. So it's good that against whatever team we're playing, we can score 3 times as many as we did against Brisbane. So that's progress.
The fact we actually kept the ball, though, was nice. I know they just gave us it, but previously we've watched it and it's just been chipped forward to Bamford or whoever's in attack, and it's been pretty ugly to watch, and we've not been able to keep it. So the fact that they did pass the ball to players in white shirts is nice, albeit the first half, my main memory of that was Christensen just stood on the right wing with his arms in the air, absolutely screaming for the ball while no one was around him, wondering why no one was passing to him.
It was sort of like the bits from last season where you could see them trying to work the ball into the box, and it was just not working. So that's really good to see that actually those little triangles. Is it was it the first goal or the second goal? One of the goals where it's worked in off the right. It was, who set up or who? It was Rodrigo when he just smashes it into the roof of the net. That's a really good move, wasn't it? Was it the first goal?
Yeah, Bamford just nudged it back to him, didn't he?
That's right. And all those things kind of, when they were trying it in the stress of last season, not a chance of it working, and then there it's coming off, and that gives you that little bit of rhythm that hopefully you can take into the season and score 6 against Wolves. Yeah,
I agree with that. My big fear from the final dozen games last season was that we just didn't know what to do in possession at all. They looked completely lost with it, whereas here you can see exactly what they're trying to do, the patterns that they're trying to make, the runs that they're making, in order to create those patterns. And I thought, yes, there is a plan, and that gave me a massive sense of comfort seeing that. And also having the players that understand the plan, I think, so it could be a really canny move that we've signed several Red Bull alumni, people who know Jesse Marsh, because they can just slot into this. They know exactly what's expected of them, and they looked like that on Sunday.
You could see it with Aronson in particular. I'd not been totally in love with him on the Australian tour, but then against Cagliari, he was like 2 steps ahead of the plan. Like, he knew exactly when to press. He was the one who was winning the ball in attack and doing all that stuff, and you could see, right, he gets this implicitly and is carrying out. I mean, it's the weird thing that all of pre-season exists in that kind of fog where you don't know how many minutes they've had, how long they've been working on it, standard of opposition and all that stuff. So
there's too many variables.
Yeah, so I wasn't like making any judgments on Aronson from Australia. And lots of people thought he was like the second coming of Pablo Hernandez. I just wasn't seeing it. And then Cagliari, I see it. And now I think he's the second coming of Eric Cantona.
Well, he's known as the Medford Messi, isn't he? So
him. Yeah. He's better than Cantona. Why I picked Cantona. I hate him.
It's the 7,
I like Brendan. Oh yes, they're wearing 7. Yeah, well, we'll talk about squad numbers
in due course. Yeah, he was really, really busy. You instantly see Christensen becoming a huge favourite. Loads of people had sort of sniffed it out early doors with him, just from he's got that sort of Pontusy air about him, hasn't he? Like celebrating tackles and free kicks and stuff. He sort of lives and breathes every kick of the game, which I enjoyed.
His Tyson Fury raising from the dead from the head knock, which was that got the
because it looked serious, didn't it? At one point, you're thinking he stayed down here, and they were kind of immobilising his head. So I don't know whether they were just checking him or trying to get the swelling down or whatever. And you thought, oh God, this is just what we need. But then he just rose, didn't he?
He was down for a long time, and I think it was almost, maybe he noticed that the Cagliari player had been taken off with his head in like a fishnet weird thing. I think once he saw that he'd gone off, he was like, softy, watch this.
Yeah, and then
it's a bad shiner.
Yeah,
I've seen the photos the day after. It's like, it's almost, I don't know if he's going to no, it's ridiculous to say he won't be able to play against Wolves, but it's big.
I reckon he just
big
turned
old
around and
swollen
said, I've got another one. I can say out of that one.
I think he should just carry on the Kisnarbo vibe and wear a bandage around his head. I mean, he's not going to really help his eye, but I think it just helps the vibe.
Him and Pascal Strout could wear eye patches and become pirates, because Pascal looks like a pirate anyway, doesn't he?
Yep. Robin Koch too.
And Rocker, I really like the look of him in midfield. You can see the range of passing in there. And so one of the things that we really struggled with in possession in those final 12 games was trying to pass through the lines, like the vertical passing, which is what the whole system is kind of built on, isn't it? The old penis ball. And I thought Rocker really makes a difference in there. You could see him just slotting it through into the likes of Aronson and Rodrigo. It seemed to be a lot of nice stuff going on there, I thought.
That was the one snap judgment I did make in pre-season, was within 10 minutes at Blackpool I'd fallen in love with his left foot. I'm still in love with it even after I watched him try and put that one pass over the West Stand in this game. I think it's that focus on verticality. As soon as he tried to pass it horizontally, like all his powers just went. So as long as he's passing forward and backwards, just don't look to the sides, he's going to be absolutely fine. But yeah, he's got an absolutely beautiful left foot, and he will be good for the games he's not suspended for. I'm looking forward to him.
Well, I was going to say this is the first time I've seen him and he's not looked like he was going to get sent off, which is improvement again. We're getting better in pre-season. This is what we're working on.
And Adams alongside him looks good. Does Adams? I thought very, very industrious, just buzzing around there. Again, annoying to play against in the same way that I imagine Aronson is as well, just constantly there.
They seem to complement each other really well, him and Rocker. You can see how Rocker does all the passing and Adams just gets about the pitch and is a little kind of terrier. I did notice he was waiting at a free kick and the referee was walking backwards and accidentally stood on his foot, and Adams gave him a bollocking, which I quite liked as well.
He's quietly, Christensen's getting a lot of the hype for his sort of hard man stuff, but in Australia it was Tyler Adams who was getting right in Jordan Ayew's face and starting all the scraps, while I've not actually seen Christensen get involved in any of that stuff. Like when McGinn went in on Archie Gray, he just stayed on the other side of the pitch when we're like, go on then, go and, take his face off. And he didn't. And then Sunday, it was he's headbutted another player miles away from the ball by accident. Oh, good, tough man. Well, it's actually Tyler Adams is actually going around and doing the winning the ball and winning the tackles and starting scraps. So I think he's quietly going under the radar as actually with as much to offer in the kind of the cult scrapper stakes as Rasmus. But his name, I mean, Tyler Adams just doesn't sound as hard as Rasmus, does it?
No. And I think so far, on the evidence so far, I mean, there's a lot of football yet to play, but they look like pretty sound recruits, I think, the four of them. We've not seen enough of Sinisterra to really make a judgment there, have we? I think, in fairness.
Sick note. That's my judgment. Sick note.
Well, back in the next week or two, if we move on to the injuries, and so will Liam Cooper, so probably likely to miss Wolves, but might be back for Southampton, something like that.
I'm interested to see where he fits in this team, because we've signed a winger to replace Rafinha and we don't really play with wingers, albeit Harrison was really good on Sunday.
I was going to say, let's actually just return to that. Yeah, width. Did you spot I spotted quite a bit of width.
Yeah, so, it's a bit of both, isn't it? Where it's like if we go out wide to the left, the whole team moves to the left, and then likewise to the right. I think obviously
like the cha-cha slide, isn't it?
I think that's how Marsh has described it, right? Yeah. But yeah, because it was Aronson on the right, wasn't he? And he's not really a traditional hug the touchline winger, which worked really well. And Harrison coming in field actually did lots of good stuff. There was one turn in particular which got a big ooh from the east stand, which was nice.
They were kind of spanning the ball in midfield, didn't they? Yeah.
Jackie looked like he was. I think some of the bitch on the pitch advice was taken. I mean, he did then. He got booked for fighting somebody, didn't he? And it was all taken to be like he needs to be more Rasmus-ish. But I think some of it is decision making and just doing what he instinctively
courage of your
thinks
convictions.
He should do. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was playing more in that style, less thought. Because there's something about his first touch. You don't see many players with the first touch as good as Harrison, and it's what happens afterwards. So I guess it's trying to apply the first touch mentality to everything else that he does.
Because the first touch is all instinctive, isn't it? That's the thing, and then you have to make a decision afterwards.
I was thinking that myself, but then thinking about it, like when he's watching a ball coming 100 yards over the pitch, he does have time to think about it. So I don't know. I'm arguing myself out of the thing. Basically,
I know what you're saying.
He just needs to just do stuff and play with more freedom, and he looked great. And I think the width thing is, the further away from goal we are, the wider we are. And then it's all about sort of two diagonal lines pointing towards the penalty spot. So you do see, whenever, you could see it in some of the Australia games as well, where Harrison in particular is the one who will put his toes on the touchline, but it's always much nearer to halfway. And then the nearer we get to goal, the narrower we are. And there was some times when you could see Brendan Aronson was going out wide, but he tends to go out wide to get the ball because it's there, and then he'll bring it back in as quickly as possible. So it's that
funnel. It's a funnel.
Funneling towards the goal, because as Jesse Marsh says, the nets are not in the corners, in the middle of the pitch. So that's where we want to put the ball. And
it worked 6 times on Sunday, so maybe there's truth to all this. Maybe it all just works. Maybe it all falls into place. Hey, just returning to the injuries, Cooper and Sinistera should be back hopefully in the next week or two. So we're not far off a full complement. Hopefully, if they can stay fit, and there's Forshaw as well. Do we know about him yet?
He said him and Sinistera are both a week away. Firpo and Ayling are 2 weeks away.
Right.
Ayling will probably take longer because he's been out longer. And then there's only Stuart Dallas after that.
Cooper was saying the day after the game he was back in training, wasn't he? So that would be
That's
Monday.
right, yeah.
He might even be on the bench, maybe.
Fell off a treadmill, didn't he? He's hurt his Achilles on a treadmill.
Is he injured at the start of every season, Cooper, it feels like?
It's
the first game of the Premier League at Anfield, he was definitely missing.
That's true.
I can't remember about last season, but we need to just look after him in the summer.
Yeah, when he's left to his own devices, he hurts himself.
Well, let's wrap up the squad issues and stuff then. Just closing out the thoughts on Harrison. Looks like he's got the number 11 shirt for this season, assuming we keep him. That's nice, isn't it? I like to see a winger or a wide man, a notional winger anyway.
Let's keep him as well.
Yeah, and give him a new contract.
Yeah, give him everything he wants. He's really good.
Good. Kiko Casilla, maybe not necessarily.
Give him nothing. Give him absolutely nothing.
Well, I think we've given him a payoff to go away.
Well, he shouldn't.
Some things are just for the best, aren't they? We don't need to get into the merits of Kiko Casilla again.
There aren't any.
No, but he's gone now, and we've since moved on from the club that we were then, it feels like. So it just feels better to have him gone elsewhere, doesn't it? I think is the kindest thing I can say about that.
Yeah, fuck off.
Yeah. Bye. Bye, Kiko.
Still don't have a left back. Should we sign one?
I'd like a left back, yeah. I mean, that was the thing with the game on Sunday, because Cagliari's attacks and those 3 chances they had, which they scored 2 of, they all kind of came from out wide, or certainly the massive third one, which they should have scored, was down behind Strauch. But I do think that's kind of just the way we play. The fullbacks push so high up the pitch.
Yeah. That's how we'll get caught this season.
I think as much as I think we definitely do need the left back, you could sign the best left back in the world, and if he stood in the opposition corner flag, he's not going to stop a cross. So,
but we still need one. No names yet though. But I feel like with this, like the idea that they've got to keep Firpo as the number 1 choice because somehow they'd be doing him dirty if they got somebody else in to compete doesn't necessarily ring true for me. I mean, I think we can see now, can't we, that Christensen's come in as the first choice right back. So Luke Ayling's going to have to fight for his place. What's wrong with bringing in a good left back and saying Junior Firpo's got to fight for his place?
Well, have they said all that? I know they said that he's going to be, they've implied that he's going to be first choice, but I don't know if all the other stuff, if it's out of respect for his feelings, right, or if it's just that they can't find one that's better. That could be
we can see, can't we?
The thing. And nobody, I mean, I suppose it is technically, it's his shirt to lose because we don't have another left back. So if you sign another left back in August, that player then has to get the shirt off of Junior Firpo. So you'll say Firpo is the first choice left back, and whoever we bring in is going to have to challenge for that position. But you could bring in somebody's grandma, and the challenge would probably get ahead of Firpo quite quickly. I don't know. I like Firpo. I felt bad because I put in the Observer. I did their pre-season Leeds preview, and I said that we need a left back because the only one we've got is Junior Firpo, and he's injured and nobody likes him. And I felt a bit bad when I saw it in print because it came out a lot colder than I thought.
I read that and it sounds very snarky,
especially
doesn't it?
but it's true.
Because you wrote it in the voice that we employ on this podcast, I think, but it doesn't read like that.
It's true because nobody does like him, but I personally think it's a shame because he seems really nice.
Yeah.
All the things that he does, but I don't think there's if you were to describe the feelings of the Leeds United support in summary, you would say nobody likes him, but he's a good lad, and hopefully, because in the way we are playing with high fullbacks and all the spacing behind, he was brilliant in that first game under Marsh against Leicester, getting into the penalty area. Didn't he score? Or he was involved in the goal.
Did he nearly score in the back heel or something mad like that?
Yeah, he was in their penalty area and looking really good, and feasibly, like, his whole thing should work really well in what we're trying to do going forward. And he whipped in, was it Blackpool? He put in a couple of crosses, and I was thinking that's actually a really good end product he's got there. So if he can put all that stuff together, he probably is actually the perfect left back for what we're trying to do. Problem is, he's just had a year when he's impressed absolutely nobody, and now he's injured again.
Now he appears to be built of cotton wool.
Yeah, so it's quite difficult for him to come back. But some people do like him. I am one of the people who does like him, but I don't think it's inaccurate to say that in general he is not liked.
Yeah, good to compete for a squad place, I think, which is the point I was making before.
Can Luke Ayling use his left foot?
Maybe. What about Matthias Klick? Because would you like to keep Klicky for a squad player? Because we've heard noises from Jesse that seem to imply he's off because he wants to play for his World Cup place.
I'm not ready for Klick to leave Leeds, just on a personal level, on an emotional level.
What about on the football level? Can we afford to thin out the squad?
I mean, that's the thing, isn't the whole point of this summer that we just get loads of midfielders and don't let anyone go, really? But I think you do look at those positions, and he is quite far down the pecking order wherever he might play. And yeah, I've had a sneaking suspicion for a while that him and Marsh just hate each other a little bit. But I don't know. I did, when we did the season review of all the players on the extra ball, I did kind of say with Klick, I envisaged a situation where he hung around for another 6 months, didn't really play, and then left in January, but I didn't factor into account the World Cup with that. And as Marsh is saying, if he wants to play in the World Cup for Poland, he really needs to play some games, which he doesn't look like he's going to get here, because you look at, we've got Adams, Rocker, Forshaw, even Sam Greenwood, JB. I mean, is Archie Gray going to be ahead of him? And then if he's going to play as a number 10, well, you think Aronson, Rodrigo, these options.
Yeah, Sinistera.
Yeah, there's options everywhere for him. And I guess it's up to him to a certain extent of how much does he desperately want to play first team minutes.
And there's the issue as well, as if we do get another versatile-ish forward, which is what they seem to be angling at. Like if we'd have got Charles de Ketelaere, who seems to be going to Milan, still not finished yet, that one, but I think he will do. Could sort of play anywhere across that front line. If we get someone like that who can play in the sort of number 10 roles, that kind of shuts another door, doesn't it?
But yeah, I'd just be sad to see him go. I love him a lot.
Yes, he's a fun man, isn't he? He's a fun man to have around.
It's a bit of the difficulty with the squad size theory that we're almost too quickly bumped up against it. This is sort of why some teams prefer to have small squads, is because you have players who are unhappy and then don't want to be around. It's not as, it's never as simple as you just sign all the players and you just get to keep them all, because you get somebody like Klick who will just go like, well, I don't want to be just a squad player, I want to move on. And then that does create then implications of, are we back to square one with a small squad? Do we need more cover, or are we actually going to be all right? It's just kind of a bit of a reminder that it's not as easy as just signing loads of players and having a big squad.
Yeah.
Some of those players have their own kind of things that they want to do.
Well,
like playing.
Yeah, basically.
Being a footballer. But that's the thing Victor Orta did say last season. I think it was even after Bielsa had been sacked. But he did say the small squad thing, that he did want to continue with that, and he thinks that's the right idea of having a small group of senior players and complementing them with younger players. And we have to be fair to Marsh, we have seen that he will stick a young player on. So that does make players like Klick kind of out of the picture a little bit.
I read over summer, there was a bit, I think it was ESPN did an article about Pep Guardiola and how Manchester City won the league last season with the second fewest players used out of anybody in the Premier League. And then they had a bit about him doing the reasoning of why. And listening to Guardiola talk about his squad size, he says he prefers to have 18 players who can cover for different positions, and he will use, if there's an injury, he will move a player to play to a different position rather than call up a reserve, but then he augments them with the youth players, because he prefers to have a small happy squad than a big squad of lots of, and it was exactly
Bielsa, that, isn't it?
It's Bielsa word for word. It was quite spooky reading it, and that it kind of reminded me a bit, because the small squad as a concept got a massive kicking last season because the injuries absolutely blew a hole in it. But then the idea that it can never work is kind of disproven by, Manchester City do all right.
And we did all right.
And we did all right the season before. We finished ninth, and I think it was kind of a reminder that there's two ways then out of the pickle Leeds got into last season, which was either better players, which is how Manchester City make it work, because they can bring Grealish off the bench, and John Stones can play all different positions,
or Calvin not off the bench,
but then Calvin is the perfect player for them as well, because he can play centre back, he can play two positions in midfield, so he's three players in one for their squad, or you go for more players of let's say lesser quality, which I think is maybe where that difference with the January business and Bielsa in general not wanting transfers is where we've gone the other way, because he wanted players better than what we had, and he used to say, I'm sure he was asked about how much it would cost to replace Stuart Dallas, and he just laughed. Like, if you want a better player than Stuart Dallas, you have to pay a fortune because of all the things he can do. Whereas we've under Marsh gone for more a bunch of players who are probably about the same level. Like, I look at Tyler Adams is probably not as good as Calvin Phillips was, and so he might get there in the next couple of years. That's kind of the bet. And then Aronson feels like a younger click, but none of them are kind of like, we're not bringing them in as a better player, we're bringing them all in as more of a level, which will mean a stronger squad, and they've got the potential to become better.
I think some of them are better though.
They might be.
I think like Rocker's got certain, what he might lack in, pace, he's certainly got in quality and range of passing. And I think Adams has got high level experience. I think Aronson's got high level experience. I think they might already be better, some of them.
The distinction is,
I know what you're saying.
To sign, instead of signing one player who is better than Calvin Phillips, we've got Adams, Rocker, Forshaw, who can all do that job and could be. It's kind of the thing. So instead of going for that way, we've gone for spreading it a little bit. But then Click wants to go, and it kind of blows a hole in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a tricky old world out there, and it's not as easy as one or the other.
Final bit in this section then, Somerville, new contract, 2026. Sam Greenwood, same story. Joffrey till 2027, 5-year contract. And one of the notable things in this is the number 10 shirt going to Somerville, that's a proper dick swinging move, isn't it, from Somerville? I kind of respect that.
Yeah,
I want that shirt. When
I first saw it, I was like, oh, really? And then the more I think of it, I think, all right, fair enough. You've really backed yourself there. Like, it's down to you to, you can't take the number 10 shirt and then just spend a season playing for the under 21s.
It's had some bloody big names in it as that number 10 shirt, hasn't it, over the years? Alioski, Hunt, Ricketts, Constantine, Edgar Charney.
There's a lot to live up to. Yeah. It reminds me of when Messi was leaving Barcelona, and there was a story that Martin Braithwaite was like, can I have the number 10 shirt? I can think, like, he's going into contract negotiations going, well, now Rafa's left.
Well, Martin, it's lunchtime. We'll talk about it after lunch. Come on, let's go to the canteen.
I also maybe think that he's gone, look, I know you've signed Brendan Aronson and he wants a number 10, and they've just gone, oh, actually he's taking number 7. He's gone, oh, right, okay.
Interesting.
I mean, that's the story with this, isn't it? It's when Pervader came in and grabbed number 7, and now, where is he?
Well, number 24, I think.
Yeah, and on the way out.
And on the way out, yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? It's maybe interesting that Greenwood and Joffrey have just gone like, yeah, we're happy with our shirts, not asked. And I suppose he just has to do something now, doesn't he? You can't just take Rafinha's shirt and then not produce. And there's a lot of expectation with Somerville because of how brilliant he looks in the under 23s. I think it's fair to say he's not really translated that to the first team in his limited minutes.
But bloody hell, he expects to.
He certainly expects to. But yeah, and putting that shirt on his back, he'd better. Or else. I don't know what I'm going to do if he doesn't. It'll just be like,
I'll just moan about it on a podcast.
Yeah, well, this thing is, he was almost moaning his way out to a loan abroad, wasn't he? Because he wanted to go and play in Germany because he wasn't getting the first team minutes. And it is kind of when you add it all up together, you do worry that he's maybe getting a little bit ahead of himself. Maybe, and I do, yeah, it's a curious one because I'm surprised actually not to be too deep about it, that Marsh has let him, because he was one of the players who last season he said, yeah, I've had to have a word with Somerville about some of the way he is in training and kind of how to be a footballer, to get his head on track. And kind of, you'd think with the things that he says about player development, and I'm surprised he's sanctioned that, or maybe he doesn't have a say. Maybe it's just he can do what he wants.
It might have been one of the terms in his contract. You don't know, do you?
I mean, what if he wants to be captain? Do we just go on then?
Give it to him.
It's absolutely fine. Yeah, so it's an intriguing one, but there's no doubt he's putting the pressure on himself. So good luck to him, and I hope he turns out as good as he looks. Because if he can turn his under-23s form into first team form, then I won't care about Rafinha anymore. All his free kicks can hit the crossbar forever.
That wraps up the Leeds news for this week. Then we've also got the Wolves preview coming in your video feed as well. Check that out on YouTube. It's on the way, where we apply our searing insight into the forthcoming game, the season opener.
A lot of depth into the orange wolves of Wandering Town. That's why they play, isn't it?
It is, yes.
The Square Ball Podcast.